Commander Vex Tornara had seen enough Deathworlds to fill 3 lifetimes. The scarred veteran of the Galactic Survey Corps flexed his 4 muscular arms as he reviewed the holographic display floating before him. Purple radiation burns covered half his reptilian face, cup, and his right eye had been replaced with a cybernetic implant after his encounter with the acid-spitting creatures of Mortis Prime. "Another Deathworld classification request," he muttered, his forked tongue flicking out in annoyance. These bureaucrats think every rock with a few predators deserves the classification. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Crix Valdor, approached with that typical swagger of someone who'd never actually set foot on a real Deathworld. The young officer's pristine blue uniform and unmarked chitin armor practically screened Academy graduate. "Sir, the preliminary reports from the scouting drones are unusual," Crix said, his mandibles clicking nervously. Vex's remaining organic eye rolled dramatically. "Let me guess. Another world with big teeth and aggressive wildlife? Oh no, how terrifying." He leaned back in his command chair, which groaned under his considerable bulk. "I've survived the glass storms of Helen 7, the living metal parasites of Nightmare Station, and the dimensional rifts of the Screaming Nebula. Nothing surprises me anymore." The hologram shifted to display a blue and green sphere orbiting a yellow star. Vex had to admit it looked almost peaceful, too peaceful. "The world is designated Sol 3, sir. Local inhabitants call it Earth. The dominant species refers to themselves as humans." "Humans?" Vex repeated, his voice dripping with skepticism. "What kind of pathetic name is that? Let me guess. They're another species of herbivorous prey animals who think they're tough because they learned to use fire?" Crix's antennae twitched. "Actually, sir, that's where it gets interesting. They're omnivores. And according to the cultural analysis, they have something called extreme sports." "Extreme sports?" Vex snorted, a sound that came out as a wet hiss through his nasal slits. "What do they do? Compete to see who can eat the spiciest fruit?" "Well, sir," Crix pulled up additional data. "They intentionally throw themselves out of flying vehicles with only a fabric parachute. They strap boards to their feet and slide down frozen water at high speeds. They climb vertical rock faces for recreation." Vex's cybernetic eye whirred as it focused. "For recreation? Not survival training? For fun, sir." A moment of silence stretched between them. Then Vex burst into laughter, a sound like grinding machinery mixed with a wheeze. "Oh, this is rich. These humans think they're dangerous because they play extreme hopscotch." He wiped a tear from his good eye. "I'll tell you what's extreme, Lieutenant. Extreme is being chased by a pack of razor wolves through a forest where the trees shoot poison darts. Extreme is fighting a creature that can phase through dimensions while you're standing on a platform dissolving beneath your feet." The communications officer, a nervous Synthari named Pip Quellox, cleared his throat from across the bridge. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It appears to be some kind of entertainment broadcast. Put it on screen," Vex commanded, still chuckling. "Let's see what these adorable little humans consider entertainment." The holodisplay flickered and showed what appeared to be a human male standing in a metal cage surrounded by thousands of other humans screaming at the top of their lungs. The human in the cage was bleeding from several cuts on his face. "What's happening here?" Vex asked, his amusement fading slightly. Another human entered the cage, and immediately the two began violently attacking each other with their bare hands. No weapons, no armor, just flesh against flesh. "They appear to be fighting each other for sport, sir," Pip squeaked. "Fighting each other?" Vex leaned forward. "For territory, resources, mating rights? No, sir. According to the cultural database, they do this for entertainment. They call it mixed martial arts. The winner gets a shiny belt and something called prize money." Vex watched as one human grabbed the other and slammed him to the ground with tremendous force. The crowd roared approval. "Interesting," he mused. "Show me more of their entertainment." The next broadcast showed humans racing vehicles at incredible speeds around a circular track. Vex had seen plenty of races before, But then one of the vehicles suddenly flipped, burst into flames, and tumbled end over end while the other racers continued driving around it. "Did that human just die?" Crix asked, his voice barely a whisper. "No, sir," Pip reported, checking his instruments. "The human climbed out of the wreckage and is walking away. He appears to be disappointed about not finishing the race. They survived that." Vex's cybernetic eyes zoomed in on the wreckage. The vehicle was completely destroyed. "Show me their medical technology. They must have some kind of advanced healing capability." But the medical scans revealed something that made even Vex's battle-hardened mind reel. The humans were biological. Completely, utterly biological. No cybernetic enhancements, no genetic modifications, no exoskeleton armor grafted to their skin. Just soft, pink flesh and fragile bones. "This can't be right," Vex muttered. "Run the scans again." The results were the same. These humans were walking around a death world with nothing but their original, unmodified bodies. "Sir," Crix said slowly, "there's more. According to the planetary survey, Earth has been classified as a death world by every other species that's discovered it." "What?" Vex spun his chair around so fast it nearly threw him out. "That's impossible. If it's a death world, how are these humans not only surviving but thriving?" "Well, sir, the gravity is 1.2 times galactic standard. The atmosphere contains a highly reactive gas called oxygen that would be toxic to most species. The weather patterns include massive rotating storm systems, electrical discharges that can kill instantly, and frozen water that falls from the sky at terminal velocity." Vex felt a cold sensation creeping up his spine. "Go on." "The planet is home to creatures that hunt in coordinated packs, massive predators that can crush bone with their jaws, and venomous species whose toxins can kill in minutes. Oh, and according to this report, the humans share their living spaces with some of these predators voluntarily." "Voluntarily?" "They call them pets, sir." The bridge fell silent, except for the hum of the ship's engines. "Show me these pets," Vex commanded, his voice barely above a whisper. The hologram displayed a human female sitting on what appeared to be a comfortable resting platform. Curled up next to her was a creature with sharp claws, predatory eyes, and fangs designed for tearing flesh. "This creature is called a cat, sir. Humans keep them in their homes for companionship." "That's a predator," Vex said flatly. "Yes, sir. They keep predators as companions." "Yes, sir. Show me a dangerous one." The image shifted to show a human male playing with a massive creature that stood nearly as tall as the human itself. The beast had a mouth full of teeth that could easily crush a Xanthari skull, and its muscular body suggested it could overpower most galactic species without effort. "This is called a dog, sir. Specifically a German Shepherd. Humans originally bred these creatures to help them hunt other creatures." Vex stared at the display for a long moment. "They bred them? They created these predators?" "Actually, sir, they domesticated them from wild predators called wolves, which are even more dangerous." "Where are the wolves now?" "Still on the planet, sir. Humans have conservation programs to protect them. They're protecting the wild predators, too." "Yes, sir." Vex stood up from his chair and began pacing, his claws clicking against the metal deck. "This doesn't make sense. No species voluntarily coexists with predators unless they're the apex predator themselves." "Sir," Pip interrupted nervously, "there's something else. The humans appear to have detected our scanning." "What?" "That's impossible. Our stealth technology is military grade. They're sending us a message, sir." "Put it through." The hologram shifted to show a human female with brown hair and surprisingly calm eyes. She was wearing what appeared to be a uniform of some kind. "Greetings, unknown vessel," the human said in perfectly understandable galactic standard. "This is Captain Maria Santos of the Earth Defense Network. We've detected your scanning activities and would like to invite you to make formal contact. We're always interested in meeting new species." Vex's jaw dropped. "They learned galactic standard? How long have they known about us?" "According to our records, sir. This is their first contact with any galactic species." "Then how do they know our language?" "They appear to have, Figured it out from our transmissions, sir. The human on the screen continued speaking. We understand you might be conducting a survey of our world. We'd be happy to provide you with any information you need. Would you like to send down a diplomatic team? Vex looked around the bridge at his crew. Every single one of them was staring at the hologram with expressions ranging from confusion to outright terror. They want us to visit their Deathworld, Crix whispered. As tourists, Pip added, his voice cracking. Vex cleared his throat and activated the communications array. This is Commander Vex Tornera of the Galactic Survey Corps. We appreciate your offer of hospitality. The human smiled, and Vex noticed she had remarkably sharp teeth for what was supposedly an omnivore. Excellent. We've prepared a landing zone at what you might call a safe location. It's one of our major cities, so you'll get a good sense of human civilization. Safe location? Vex asked. Oh yes, very safe. Only about 15 million humans live there, so it's relatively quiet. We've cleared a landing pad at the airport. Don't worry about the noise from the aircraft, you'll get used to it. 15 million? In one location, New York is actually one of our smaller major cities, Captain Santos said cheerfully. Beijing has over 20 million. But don't worry, New Yorkers are very friendly once you get to know them. Vex felt his legs go weak. 20 million humans in a single settlement? Oh, that's just the city proper. The greater metropolitan area has about 40 million. She paused. Is that a problem? We could arrange a meeting somewhere more rural if you prefer, maybe Wyoming. Though I should warn you, the wildlife there can be a bit more active. More active? Bears, wolves, mountain lions. The usual. But they mostly leave humans alone unless you surprise them or get between them and their young. Basic Deathworld survival stuff. I'm sure you understand. The connection ended. Leaving the bridge in stunned silence, Vex slowly turned to his crew. Did she just refer to surviving on a Deathworld as basic survival stuff? Yes, sir, Crix confirmed weakly. And she casually mentioned that their small cities have populations larger than most of our homeworlds? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And she warned us about the wildlife in their rural areas? Yes, sir. Vex sat down heavily in his command chair. For the first time in his long career of surveying Deathworlds, he felt something he hadn't experienced since his first mission as a rookie. Genuine, bone-deep fear. Sir, Pip said quietly. What are your orders? Vex stared at the peaceful-looking planet on the hologram. Somewhere down there, hundreds of millions, possibly billions of these humans were going about their daily lives on a world that would kill most galactic species within hours. And they were inviting him to visit. Prep the shuttle, he said finally. If these humans have survived on a Deathworld their entire existence, the least we can do is try to survive a few hours as their guests. He paused. And make sure our life insurance policies are up to date, sir, Crix asked. What if this is some kind of trap? Vex laughed. But there was no humor in it. Lieutenant, I don't think they need traps. If they wanted us dead, they'd probably just invite us to one of their dinner parties. As the ship began preparations for the most dangerous diplomatic mission in galactic history, none of them noticed the small human probe that had been quietly following them for the past 3 days. Captain Santos was indeed looking forward to meeting new friends. But she hadn't mentioned that Earth's definition of friendship was about to become a very educational experience for their visitors. The shuttle descent through Earth's atmosphere was the most terrifying experience of Vex's career, and he'd once crash-landed on a planet where the ground was made of sentient acid. The shuttle's sensors screamed warnings about atmospheric pressure, radiation levels, and gravitational stress that would have killed most species instantly. Sir, Crix gasped, his breathing apparatus working overtime. The atmospheric readings are off the charts. How do the humans survive breathing this poison? Maybe they don't, Vex muttered, checking his environmental suit for the 5th time. Maybe what we saw were their corpses that haven't figured out they're dead yet. The shuttle broke through the cloud layer, revealing a sight that made every crew member's blood freeze. Stretched out below them was a massive concrete and metal jungle that seemed to go on forever. Towering structures reached toward the sky like the fangs of some impossibly large predator, and between them flowed rivers of metal vehicles carrying millions of humans. Sweet mother of the void, Pip whispered. It's like a hive, but made of stone and metal. And it's moving, Crix added, his voice barely audible. All of it. Look at those streams of humans. Vex watched through the viewport as thousands of humans moved through the streets below like blood cells through arteries. They're coordinated. This isn't random movement. They're organized. The shuttle's communication system crackled to life. Galactic Survey Shuttle. This is New York Air Traffic Control. We have you on approach to LaGuardia Airport. Please maintain current heading and altitude. Be advised, you're sharing airspace with approximately 400 commercial aircraft today. 400. Crix shrieked. They have 400 flying vehicles in the air at once? That's just today. The air traffic controller replied cheerfully. Yesterday was busier. We had a thunderstorm, so we only managed about 600 flights. Vex's cybernetic eye focused on the sky around them. Sure enough, massive metal flying machines were cruising through the air in perfectly organized patterns, each one carrying hundreds of humans. They're flying in a thunderstorm, he said weakly. On purpose. Oh, you mean the lightning? The controller asked. Yeah, we fly through that all the time. Modern aircraft are designed to handle lightning strikes. We usually only ground flights if there are tornadoes. Tornadoes? Spinning wind columns that can destroy buildings. They're pretty rare in New York, though. And you're more likely to see those in the Midwest. As they landed, Vex noticed something that made his scales crawl. The landing pad was surrounded by humans who were standing completely unprotected in the open air, breathing the toxic atmosphere like it was nothing. Remember, Vex told his crew as they prepared to disembark, these humans have adapted to this environment. They might look harmless, but they're clearly the most dangerous species we've ever encountered. The shuttle door opened with a hiss, and Captain Santos approached with a group of other humans. She was still smiling, which somehow made her more terrifying. Welcome to Earth, she called out. I hope the landing wasn't too rough. I know our gravity can be a bit heavy for some species. Vex struggled to walk normally under the crushing weight. Each step felt like he was carrying a boulder on his back. This is normal gravity for you? Oh yes, we're used to it. Actually, our athletes train in higher gravity sometimes to improve their performance. She gestured to a human male standing nearby. This is Dr. Jake Mitchell. He's our xenobiology expert. Dr. Mitchell stepped forward, and Vex immediately noticed the man's musculature, even relaxed. The human's body showed the kind of muscle definition that suggested incredible physical power. Pleased to meet you, Dr. Mitchell said, extending his hand. I have to say, your species' ability to survive in low oxygen environments is fascinating. Low oxygen? Vex asked, confused. Your homeworld has about 8% oxygen in the atmosphere, correct? We looked up your species after you made contact. I can't imagine how you function with so little. Crix checked his scanner. Sir, they're right. Earth's atmosphere is 21% oxygen. You're breathing concentrated poison. Vex exclaimed. Dr. Mitchell laughed. I suppose it would be toxic to you. We had to evolve to handle it. Actually, that's one of the reasons our metabolism is so efficient. High oxygen environments allow for much more aggressive biological processes. More aggressive? Faster healing, higher energy output, increased physical capability. The downside is that everything on Earth had to evolve to compete in this environment. Natural selection can be pretty brutal when the atmosphere itself is pushing every organism to its limits. Captain Santos nodded. That's why we thought you might be interested in a cultural exchange. We've never met a species that's mastered low oxygen survival. Your people must be incredibly tough. The irony wasn't lost on Vex. Here were humans, living on a world that would kill his people in minutes, expressing admiration for his species' ability to survive on what they considered a low-oxygen world. Would you like to see the city? Captain Santos asked. We can take ground transport if you prefer, or we could fly. The helicopter ride gives you a great view of Manhattan. Helicopter. Small aircraft. Very safe. We only lose about 1 in every few million flights. You lose aircraft regularly? Oh, not regularly. Maybe a few dozen per year out of millions of flights. The statistics are actually quite good. Matey. Vex felt faint. You consider dozens of crashes per year to be good statistics? Well, we used to lose a lot more when we were learning to fly. The early days of aviation were pretty dangerous, but humans are adaptable. We figured it out. They climbed into what the humans called a van, which was essentially a metal box with wheels that moved at terrifying speeds through the city streets. Vex watched in horror as their human driver navigated between other vehicles with mere inches of clearance while simultaneously consuming a hot liquid and having a conversation. Traffic's not too bad today, the driver commented casually as they nearly collided with a massive truck. Should only take about 20 minutes to get to the museum. And 20 minutes? Pip squeaked. How far is it? About 8 miles. 8 miles in 20 minutes? Crix calculated quickly. That's over 20 miles per hour. Actually, we'll probably average about 15, the driver said. Rush hour, you know. As they drove, Captain Santos pointed out various landmarks. That's Central Park. 843 acres of preserved wilderness right in the middle of the city. Great place for jogging, cycling, or just relaxing. Wilderness? In the middle of your city? Oh yes. New Yorkers love their green spaces. The park gets about 42 million visitors per year. 42 million people visit a wilderness area voluntarily? For recreation. Yes, fresh air, exercise, nature. It's very popular. Vex stared at the park as they passed. Even from the vehicle, he could see humans running, riding bicycles, and walking around completely unprotected. Some were lying on the ground in direct contact with the earth. They're touching the ground, he whispered to Crix. I see it, sir, with their bare skin. Yes, sir. They arrived at what the humans called the Natural History Museum, which turned out to be a massive structure filled with the preserved remains of creatures that had once lived on Earth. Vex's team was speechless as they walked through halls displaying the skeletons of monsters that made the worst Deathworld predators look like harmless pets. This is our dinosaur exhibit, Dr. Mitchell explained proudly. These creatures ruled Earth for about 165 million years. They're enormous, Crix breathed, staring up at a skeleton that towered over them. That's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. 40 feet long, 12 feet tall, with teeth up to 8 inches long. Bite force of about 12,800 pounds per square inch. What happened to them? Asteroid impact. Wiped out about 75% of all life on Earth, and humans survived? Dr. Mitchell chuckled. Oh no, humans didn't exist yet. We evolved from the creatures that survived the extinction event. Took us about 66 million years to develop into our current form. You evolved on the same world as these monsters, well, after they were gone. But yes, this is our homeworld. We evolved here alongside everything else you see. They moved through exhibits showing massive predators, venomous creatures, and plants that could kill with a touch. Each display made Vex more convinced that humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Here's one of my favorites, Dr. Mitchell said, stopping at a display case, the black mamba. One of our venomous snakes. Venomous snakes still exist on your world? Oh yes, thousands of species. This one's bite can kill a human in about 20 minutes if untreated. And humans just live with these creatures. Well, we don't invite them to dinner, but yes, most snakes avoid humans anyway. You just have to be careful where you step. You have to watch where you step to avoid death, only in certain areas. Most of the time you're fine. As they continued the tour, Vex began to notice something disturbing. The humans weren't bragging about their survival skills. They weren't boasting about conquering their world or defeating its predators. They spoke about the deadliest planet in the galaxy like it was a perfectly normal place to live. Dr. Mitchell, Vex said carefully, do you consider Earth to be a dangerous world? The human thought for a moment. I suppose it has its challenges, natural disasters, extreme weather, dangerous wildlife, but most places do, don't they? I mean, that's just life. Most places? Well, every world has something. Asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions, ice ages. Earth's been through all of that. We've learned to adapt. You've survived asteroid impacts? Several. The dinosaur killer was the big one, but there have been others. The younger Dryas impact about 12,800 years ago nearly wiped out early human civilization. We bounced back. Yak, you bounced back from a civilization-ending asteroid impact? The called to you. Season. Took a while, but yes. Humans are resilient. They finished the museum tour and returned to the shuttle, where Vex's crew sat in stunned silence as they prepared for departure. Sir, Crick said quietly. I don't think they realize what they are. What do you mean? They think this is normal. They think every species lives like this. Vex nodded slowly. They have no idea that they're the most terrifying life forms in the galaxy. Should we tell them? Tell them what? That they're monsters? That they've survived on a world that would kill most species instantly? That they've turned the most dangerous planet we've ever encountered into a thriving civilization with billions of inhabitants? Well, yes. Vex looked out at the city lights beginning to twinkle in the evening darkness. Billions of humans were down there, living their lives, raising families, creating art and music and literature, completely unaware that they were doing it all on a world that galactic civilization would classify as uninhabitable. No, he said finally. We don't tell them. We file our report, classify Earth as a restricted death world, and we never speak of this again. But sir, they want to join the galactic community, and they will. Eventually. But not yet. The galaxy isn't ready for humans. What do you mean? Yeah, Vex turned to face his crew. Think about it. They've spent their entire evolutionary history competing with creatures that could kill them instantly. They've survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, and global pandemics. They've built a civilization of billions on a world where the very air would poison most of us. He paused, looking out at the lights of the city again, and they think it's normal. So what happens when they find out it's not? And Dasan, Crix asked quietly. When they realize that most of the galaxy lives on worlds they would consider paradise. When they understand that what they call basic survival skills are beyond the capabilities of most species. X's cybernetic eye whirred as it focused on a particularly bright cluster of lights in the distance. When they figure out that they're not the weakest species in the galaxy, but possibly the strongest. The shuttle fell silent, except for the hum of the engines. I think, Vex said slowly. That's when the real fun begins. As they lifted off from Earth, heading back to the safety of space, Vex began composing his report. He would recommend immediate Deathworld classification for Sol 3. He would suggest that contact with the native species be limited to the most experienced diplomatic teams. But he wouldn't mention that he suspected the humans already knew exactly what they were. After all, Captain Santos had been far too calm about everything, far too prepared. And that smile of hers, Vex had seen that smile before, on the faces of the most dangerous predators he'd ever encountered. The smile of something that knew it was the apex predator, but was polite enough to let you think otherwise. It's until it wasn't. As Earth shrank to a blue dot behind them, Vex couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's introduction to the galactic community was going to be very interesting indeed. For everyone else. The humans, he suspected, would adapt just fine. They always did.